Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Eric Weissman with a group called Centrifuge. We're a startup catalyst organization in the greater Cincinnati area. And one of the things that we do is help connect and catalyze entrepreneurs and help them get them to the next lily pad in their journey, wherever they need to be, whether that's a PowerPoint template that they need, or a part-time CFO, or introduction to a Series B investor. And at the beginning of, well, actually last year, we, as with a lot of other service providers, we virtualized our programming. We operate this building, 38,000 square feet of space called Union Hall in the middle of Over the Rhine. And last year, not a whole lot of people came into the building. So we virtualized our training, and we continue that on at the beginning of this year. And one of the changes that we did this year is listening to a lot of entrepreneurs and what are the types of help that they need to kind of organize just training and education that we could provide. And so now we've been doing it for the past 6 months. Catherine, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what, a dozen of these that we've done for, at the beginning of the year, about twice a month. And so we've organized them into things that we think entrepreneurs need, but also what the entrepreneurs are telling us that they would like to get a little help with. Sales development, financials, pricing information, brand development. And one of the biggest topics is personnel and personnel development. How do you recruit a team? How do you develop yourself, and how do you develop leaders? So we're very fortunate to have Mike Sipple with us today to talk through that. Before I turn it over to Mike, I got a couple things from a Centrifuge ad standpoint, and my colleague Catherine is putting these into the chat. But we've got a couple events coming up in the future. A partnership with P&G, an event called Signal, which is also virtual now. And we're going to have a couple different sessions during that'll be startup specific. So you can look for information on that. If you're not a Centrifuge member or interested in what Centrifuge membership offers, that link is also in the chat. And then, like I said, this space of Union Hall that we're in really never closed during the pandemic. We stayed open and tried to pivot as best we could. But it's been very positive over the past few weeks, few months for sure. Everybody's kind of coming out of their own cicada holes, and every day I get at least three emails of people that, is my membership still active? Are you guys still open? I want to host an event for 50 people. So we're very pleased with that momentum and how things are moving in that direction. So back to helping entrepreneurs move forward. That's one of the things that we were put on this earth to do. At the end of the day, we're an economic development engine. We want people to move to or stay in the greater Cincinnati region. And we're going to do that by fostering entrepreneurship and fostering innovation. So as far as team building goes and recruiting, there's only so much that a single founder can do. They need a team of people that can help push their idea forward. So I don't want to give too much away, but I want to turn everything over to Mike and maybe Jules to talk through about what you guys are doing over at Centennial and the Talent Magnet Institute, and kick us off for today. So thanks for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to the Centrifuge team for the invitation. And I'm Mike Sipple. I'm going to let Jules introduce herself too.
I wasn't ready. Yeah, Mike's the star of the show today, but I am Jules Breslin. I'm the Leadership Engagement Director at Talent Magnet Institute, working alongside Mike.
So for all of those on the call, there are going to be some interactive questions. I want to get a feel for who's in the audience and what you're challenged with, what you're wrestling through, and how we can make sure we're providing some great guidance to you during this time. As Eric shared, I've spent the last 20 years in a family business, and 4.5 years ago, I basically designed that family business to run without me with a professional leadership team. So I, after at that point, 16 years into my career, could launch a startup. So that is the Talent Magnet Institute. I still believe we're in startup mode, but we're 4 years. Jules is actually my first leadership hire for the Institute. She joined me last June, so we just celebrated her 1-year anniversary to the team. And we're beginning to add, building momentum, working with outside boards, raising capital, doing all of these incredibly exciting and incredibly stressful things during a pandemic. So again, feel free to ask questions as we go here. And it's an honor to be with you all today. I'm a pretty open book, so let's get into both the tactical elements, but there's also a lot of emotional and personal elements as we're building teams and recruiting the right teams and navigating people leadership in this startup world. So I'm going to share screen, and here we go. And as I always tell everyone, now I have to let my screens orient and figure out which screen you all are on so I can pull you all back up again. So again, today we're going to talk about establishing the recruitment process. Use the chat field for questions. Feel free to interrupt as we go, so this can be as interactive as possible. One of the things I would love to know from each of you, how many employees other than yourself do you have today in your organization? How many employees is the question. So W-2, not 1099. If you could put that in the chat, super helpful for me as we orient our time together. All right, hang on 1 second here. I thought I was in presentation mode. There we go. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. We've got some decent large team here with Jennifer's team. Welcome. So we're going to focus on one of the 7 core areas of becoming a talent magnet, which is part of Talent Magnet Institute's kind of proprietary design to walk alongside of leaders, individuals who are leading one to many, and helping them really understand that leadership is about humans and how we come around humans and how we build processes to get the right humans on our team, inspired, motivated, those that desire to help you be successful. I always tell everyone the best way to get people to be an ambassador for you is to be an ambassador for them first. And each of the 7 flywheel areas target a key area of talent strategy. So all of our work is built around talent strategy and human behavior, and really supporting an ecosystem of leaders, which is what our software as a service is designed for. So all are very important, the components that we're going to be discussing today, and will give your organization a competitive advantage by showing up more organized, precise, and designed. We've all interviewed with a team that had no idea what they were actually looking for. And that's what we want to try to keep each and every one of you from having candidates experience. So again, we're going to be focusing on the recruit area of our flywheel. Recruit is about getting exceptionally clear on hiring requirements, thoroughly evaluating your talent pool, selecting the right individuals to join your organization based on not only what you need to accomplish now, which is a lot of individuals' mistakes of hiring what you need now versus hiring what you're going to need as you achieve your vision, your strategy, and your goals. But also how all of this is going to contribute to culture. So establishing recruitment process now will make a huge difference in the culture and experience of the team you have today and the team you are building for the future, which is critically important here. And I'm going to use me and our experience, as well as others that we've supported, as examples, right? So if I would have been at the time last June, as I hired my first W-2, if I would have been thinking about what am I going to need the next year, I wouldn't have brought on Jules Breslin to help me lead this thing into the future of what we believe will be the next $100 million brand, right? We're all supposed to be aspirational. But because we are planning for the future, we're building the team and trying to find the people who can help us achieve the long-term plan while building and doing all of the infrastructure. Because I'm sure, like me, or maybe some of you are even more or a lot more organized than me, many days it feels like we're flying the plane, we're trying to build the ailerons and the actual wings, and also, oh yeah, we need a second engine, right? As we're going and building, growing our organizations. So there's 4 key principles of the recruitment module with the Talent Magnet Institute. One is know the what and who you seek. The power of who, the power of thinking what actually will help us accomplish what we need to accomplish, and who do we need to bring on in order to make that happen. Hiring for the future, not just today, getting us out of the weeds is critically important, but not easy. Building a solid process, which is what we will be diving deep into today, and ensuring that we're creating a great candidate experience. So the second question I have for everyone, if you could share in the chat, so we just addressed W-2 employees. How many 1099s are working with you and around you in your startup environment? Because we all know, I mean, for me, for 2.5 years, all I used were 1099s. In fact, I wasn't even a W-2 of my own organization at that time. So how many 1099s are everyone using as a part of this as well? Because that's as much about the ecosystem and ensuring we're creating a great candidate experience too. So know the what and who you seek. Effective selection starts with being exceptionally clear about what you're looking for and who you desire to bring into your organization. I also encourage all of you to not just try to answer this question on your own, because so often us as entrepreneurs are thinking through a very, sometimes it might feel like a very clear lens, but it's extremely valuable to get others to speak into the what you're looking for and the who you desire. So you may, like me, be looking much around characteristics, chemistry, alignment, value, culture add, who's going to bring the energy that I desire, help me create the culture that we want here. But also there might be some competency related things that you just naturally overlook because you so quickly go to that component of a job description. I know we're dealing with that right now. We're hiring 2 additional W-2 employees. And I'm very thankful that our team has come around me to help me in a really critical role that reports directly to me. But my team knows what they need, not just what I need, and what they need to accomplish the big rocks, what we need as a group to meet the goals and objectives of our board and our investors. So we're all contributing to the what and the who in terms of the energy that we want to create. So getting this right not only helps ensure the process is efficient, but ultimately that we make the best decision in our selection possible. So I cannot reiterate enough how much value and importance this particular priority should be in your process. Spending time on the what and who, which then leads into not just for today, but our future. So what do we need to get accomplished today? How does it need to be accomplished? And who would be willing to do the work today to set up the processes and the structure for the future? Because so much of what we've been doing, I'm sure what you all have been doing over the last, let's just say 2 years or a year or 6 months, depending on where you are, maybe a month since you launched your startup and you're joining this event, which I applaud you for getting advice and guidance outside your own 4 walls. But we all know that there are things that aren't even in place, things that we know we're going to have, and you've got to find people willing to get their hands dirty, to roll up their sleeves, all of the adages you can throw at it. So it's not just, are you excited about what we're doing, but are you actually willing to do the work that it's going to take to build, to grind, to work hard, to pivot constantly? I mean, one of the things that I've learned in a startup is that not everybody can pivot as constantly as needed as in a startup environment. So you need to be asking questions about this as you're hiring for your future, because they're also going to have to do some of the hard work now to build for the future. And priorities might get changed 3 times in the last year. I kind of joke, I think we've redone our website, which is the majority of our SaaS delivery comes through our website technology. I think we've redone our website 4 times. If I would have hired an individual who wasn't willing to change what they created, we'd be in a difficult situation, right? Because they'd be feeling like they were being judged and I didn't do a good job. And we're like, no, that's not what it is. Just we've made another change to get even clearer on who we're focused on and what we're delivering and what value we're bringing. So thinking not what did it look like if you had someone in a recent role. Don't think, what did it look like when this person was in his or her role? It's, what do we need to get accomplished the next few months? Where do we expect to be in 18 months? And be very careful. Also, I know we talk a lot about this. I do a lot of research in this around job titles in a startup are very sensitive, because you really need to all be thinking about, I need the right mindset with the right accountability, but I also need the ability for people to grow in their title and responsibility. So being very thoughtful about title. I know Jules and I talk a lot about this. In fact, we're managing through one of these right now in terms of a title being put out there. Like, are we sure that's the title? And I put the title out to a few people, not being in my little vacuum, moving a little too fast, as some entrepreneurs do, and asking my team for feedback and saying, all right, I will definitely keep this in mind. And I'll also manage the communications to the talent pool and take full responsibility for it, right? So just involving your team, working together as a collective. If you don't have a team, working with your advisors to ensure that they're kind of speaking into this work. So the approach of hiring to handle current workload and not thinking too far ahead, it's so tempting to hire someone for today's problem or today's challenge or today's opportunity that might be creating the most stress. It's just how much opportunity is around us. But we really have to be thinking about stretching for the future, which is why I asked the 1099 question, because sometimes you may decide this really isn't an employee. I need a contractor for a season. I need somebody to build things for a season. I mean, we had an agency out of Charlotte that worked with us on things that once we got some key technology infrastructure built, I didn't need the skill of someone who all they do is build it, right? Create it from scratch. We needed different skills once the infrastructure was set up. So we leveraged outside partners over the last year and a half. I'll even, one of the things that our organization does, we've got a podcast that reaches about 53,000 people a month. And all of our podcast team, people ask, even when we launched it, Mike, how are you doing a podcast weekly? And we just shifted to bi-weekly, but we've been doing this now for 3 years. We don't do it. I record, it goes into the cloud, a contractor, a team out of Quebec, Canada. I know the person we work with is in Quebec. I don't even know where the rest of the team is. They've been executing our podcast for 3 years. And again, we even had to shift our responsibility that now Jules manages that relationship. I had managed it for 2.5, almost 3 years. And we had to shift that relationship, do a little bit of a level setting. Here's the skills, here are the expectations, because every expectation has went up a notch or 7 since Jules joined us. Again, hire for the future, hire for where you want to take your organization, not where you are today. So I think I've hit that one hard, but it's super important. Okay. Oh, it's a great question, Eric. I will get to that here in just a second. Did I just skip over? Yep. Okay. So solid processes. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on thinking about the process because it's so important. And we've got some slides here that have some tools. We're happy to provide you the slide deck afterwards, unless you've already received it. Probably have already received it. Everybody's so proactive on my team, I can't keep up. But so structured selection tools and processes deliver consistency and help you make better selection decisions, ultimately improving quality of hire, improving quality of experience. I mean, I have interviewed, even for the role that Jules is in, I flew people in from out of town. I leveraged the eco startup system here in Cincinnati, friends of ours, individuals I know on the West Coast in Chicago, thinking, this is a key hire of my investors and board putting pressure on me to hire someone who can help me run the Talent Magnet Institute, like who could buy in and help run. So, and lo and behold, we ended up finding someone right here in our own backyard by serendipity and a LinkedIn post and creativity and the algorithms somehow connected the two of us. But every single person I touched in that process did not have a great experience. I know that, right? I didn't, because I was doing a lot of it on my own. I hadn't spent the time to create the tools, the processes, the follow-ups, the thank yous. So I even went back after the case and acknowledged that, hey, based on the state that we were in, we didn't have everything. I wanted you to have a better candidate experience than you did. And I went back and acknowledged it because the other company that I own happens to be a search firm. So that brand can be, just to say it could be tainted if I don't do this properly. So it's really important early on, and don't ever feel like you can't go back and share this with a candidate pool, especially in these key hires, because you never know who you're going to need to come back to as your company continues to grow. So creating that clear and consistent process allows you to fill gaps that your organization needs. It also allows you to evaluate gaps that your organization has. And as you start growing and creating a lot of recruitment needs, you're going to have to repeat these systems in order to do this well. So be thinking about this, whether it's your application process, hiring manager interview guides, which to me, I'll be frank, being in the talent space, I have personal no interest in building a hiring manager interview guide, but I got to follow a process, right? So my team knows how to rein me back. They've got full permission to, we say, slack me or slap me, whatever it takes to get me to slow down. And because again, it's very important that we build this up. We're getting ready to hire. We have 2 openings now. Our goal is to be at what, Jules, 12 employees by the end of next year, or 15 by the end of 2022, 15. So we're going to be adding, I don't know, 12 people, 12 additional people. We have 1 other leader on our team currently that's a W-2, and we'll be at 5 hopefully by the end of June. Also, what are your protocols for reference checks? I'm a big believer in background and drug screens. So all of our team goes through that process. We bring that into the mix. Clearly defining these, sharing these up front, helping ensure that you're making the best hiring decision possible is what this enables you to do. It also helps guard against biases. As you create systems that are repeatable, it allows you to remove bias from the process. If you're doing it on your own and going rogue, there's a lot of biases that can be entered into a process, and it will creep in. So again, build consistency, draw the line, don't go outside the line once it's created, and see how the experience feels, and slow down. You can never give any of us entrepreneurs the feedback of slowing down too much. So we should all slow down a little bit. Regardless of current state of talent markets, the candidate experience matters. There's a lot of people right now who, there certainly are industries that are being just really affected by the current state of employment. But I will tell you there's also a tremendous amount of hiring going on. So remember this, that regardless of the state of the talent market, you need to treat people well. It needs to be memorable in a positive way. And always think about it, they could be your next customer. You know, the Talent Magnet Institute has humans who are members and organizations that sponsor employees to be members. So every touch they have with our brand is a marketing opportunity, is a relationship building opportunity, and we've got to focus on our candidate experiences. We like to say around here that talent magnet organizations are always focused on ensuring positive candidate experiences and strive to treat candidates the same way you would treat your hottest prospect, your most profitable customer, because tomorrow they could be. For B2C organizations, candidates are often going to be our customer pool. So there's additional bottom line impact. There's opportunity for voice of customer. There's opportunity for, you know, you may meet someone that you're like, man, they would make a great client prospect to put in a advisory pool to gain feedback about our brand. And were we clear was something I've asked everyone for the last 4.5 years, because what we're doing is complex and it's not easy to understand. So asking, you know, was that clear what I just delivered? This is a great, you went through our interview process. How did we make you feel? Do you understand our product? Do you get who our target market is? What are you hearing in the marketplace when you researched our company? You know, asking this feedback is only going to help you advance further faster. So the goal should always be creating a positive outcome, regardless whether you hire them or not, whether you hire the individual or not. Don't ghost anyone. If you can't get to them, ask someone else on your team to give them a courtesy call. I know it's not comfortable telling people they're out, but you need to get used to it as not just an entrepreneur, but a leader in your business, right? So you just got to get used to it. You've got to build the muscle. I think you'll be surprised how pleasant people are when you say, you know, as of right now, we've decided to go another direction. I don't believe you're the right fit for our team. Here are the 3 reasons why. Here's what we are looking for. People will actually thank you for the feedback, right? The more specific you can get, the better, but people will thank you because so few organizations, large or small, actually take the time to express care and appreciation for people. So send them back out in the world appreciative of your brand, not disappointed. So they may be disappointed that they didn't get selected for the role, but they'll feel respected and they'll feel that they were treated well, which is super important because I know software companies who have went through so much churn and regretted those first couple phases of growth because of how they handled the lack of recruitment structure, the lack of recruiting process. So why establish a recruiting process? There are several reasons that this is crucial for your talent acquisition strategies. Number 1, you want to improve the candidate experience. Number 2, you want to improve hiring manager satisfaction. The more process your team has, the more they will be able to execute against the plan in a positive manner, and they'll feel like there's consistency, and just they'll feel like it was just easier, which we all need to make our team's life just a little easier. You'll make better selection processes because you're trying to remove as much bias as possible and create a fair and equitable process. And that's critically important that you provide that for all candidates involved. You'll also ultimately improve your efficiency and time to hire. Up front, it might not feel that way, but as you start going through this, you'll say, oh yeah, that I am in a little bit of a rhythm. It's a little bit easier. Remove some discrepancy from the process. You don't have to question what happens next when you've got it documented and you can follow the process. So we're going to go through some elements to consider. Feel free to screenshot the next slide. Again, you're going to get you'll get a copy of this slide deck as well. So here's a list of things that you need to be thinking about. And I know you may be saying, like I was 2.5 years ago, like, I don't need anybody else's hiring approval, it's me. But I involve my board very deeply into my organization. So they know that's why they were being asked. Half of our board are investors, half aren't, which I think gives a nice little blend of priority and expectation. But I've involved them in the hiring process. I don't know if Jules knows this or not, but every candidate we interviewed for the role that we were looking for her position, our board reviewed every candidate's profile that we thought would be a potential fit. They checked references, they did their own background, right? They played a part in this process. Here are a couple things I would push on. Here are things I would ask about. Let's verify, confirm. Yep, I remember that person from this experience, et cetera. But so I kind of use them as my hiring approvals, but you may have multiple people on your team. You want to make sure they can check the box and say, go get it. This one's a great potential hire. Where are you going to advertise and post the job? I would ask for you to think deeply about not using the same old network that you've always used. It's critically important. It's extremely important to a organization that, our two companies, we work very diligently to build diverse and inclusive talent pools. I will tell you, it's easier not to. It's easier just to use the same network, the same system. It takes work to build diverse talent pools. And so I encourage you to take the extra time. Again, we're willing to share what we do. I'm willing to connect you with a few of the partnerships that our search firm has around town or throughout the country with Urban League National or Urban League Cincinnati and others, just to help diversify your talent pool. Obviously, we got to review the resume. We need to do an initial phone screen. We need to set up on-site interviews. If you use any assessments or testing, evaluating that, we do that. We try to identify the gaps that our team has, and is individuals going to be able to fill some of those gaps? Are they going to bring strengths we don't have? Are they going to, how are they going to operate with the team? You've got a very close team. It feels like a family most of the time. And you need to make sure that we can, dare to confront, navigate the difficult situations, but also work really well together to make big things happen. How are you going to go through your decision-making process? I always like to think, what are your top 5 must-haves and what are all the nice-to-haves, right? You can't list nice-to-have or must-haves of 27 things. It's just not humanly possible. But you can say, here are the things. If they hit these metrics, if they have these skills, here's what I'm looking for, and things that you need to be thinking about. And also, as you're planning for the future, a lot of what we do is content, is technology, is personality engagement, is relationship engagement. So I had to make sure whoever we hire in this organization is extremely engaged in humans. Like, they want to know them, they want to serve them, and they can show up in any type of scenario, whether it's on a live video or live audio, or present to 1,000 people or present to 25 people. And so that all of those things went into my decision tree as we were making some of our key hires. Reference checks, critically important. Do not skip over this. But one of the things that I encourage everyone to always think about with reference checks is, what do I need to know as the potential supervisor? Like, if you were to coach me to help this person be at their A game, be able to bring their A game, achieve greatness, bring all of their whole self to work, leverage the strengths, maximize possibility, what would you tell me as that leader? Is a great reference check question. So forget, at the end of the day, of course, you're going to ask, would you rehire them and all these kinds of things. But I want you to use your reference checks as a coaching opportunity for you, because so often we hire A players and they fail. And the reason why is we hire an A player that's in an ecosystem that allows them to be at the top of their game, and we put them on a team or in an environment that's just not optimal. So you need to know how you can optimize your new hire's experience, what kind of autonomy they need, what kind of authority are they going to expect, what's holding them back in their current environment that you want to just open up the, remove any barriers of holding people back and let them go. I feel like it's what we all need in a startup environment. We need more people running at the same pace that we try to manage. And again, how are you going to extend the offer? Always make a verbal offer first. Talk about the details. Make sure there's nothing missed in your offer letters. And then again, big believer in background checks. It's just nice to be able to say, got it, all things are good, especially in a startup where people are managing money and have access to things and know things. I just need to know personally, anything I should be aware of from their past. So let's go to a couple of questions. Cody, comment beyond the next month. Look beyond the next month. Consider not just what you need, but what needs to be different in your organization. Great comment. Eric, how do you think remote working is going to affect 1099 versus W-2? It's a great question. I certainly think the remote work is obviously here to stay, right? Kind of state the obvious. All of the data shows that most people prefer to have like, hey, I'll be in the office 2 to 3 days a week. I know some of our team likes to just know they have flexibility to work from wherever they are if they're delivering what they need to deliver. So the 1099 W-2 question is really, yes, you can hire W-2s that are fully remote. And you don't have to just think 1099. The question is, are they there for a project? Are they there for a season? Or do you need this leadership on your team to drive long-term results for your organization? I mean, that's the filter. I know teams in, again, I don't know who all here is not in Cincinnati, but there's organizations in Cincinnati who never wanted to talk to people from outside the market. And if I do, they have to commit in blood that they'll relocate like right now. Many of those companies could care less where they're hiring talent right now, right? So it certainly opens up the ability for broader talent pools, and you should be taking advantage of that. Will this shift how many people are remote? I think, again, we've got to judge our own scenario as, do we want to be providing the direction of the team member we hire? And do I need their leadership on the team to drive for the future? If not, then, evaluate, do I need to hire a W-2 or a 1099? So that's some of the thinking there. Happy to dialogue about it with anyone if there's any further clarity needed. Another question, how important are exit interviews? Not everyone will have a positive experience. Love it. Should exit interviews be part of the overall, or should you just show them the door? There's two components to this. So at the Talent Magnet Institute, we help organizations and leaders realize that everyone, no matter if you have to fire them, if they leave for better opportunity, everyone matters. Everyone matters. And your future talent pools will be affected by how you treat people now, both on your team, in your organization, and outside. So during the pandemic, I don't know how many times we presented, but I kept sharing with people that everybody's going to remember how you made them feel, how you handled the pandemic, what you did, what you didn't do, how you responded, how you checked in. And, lo and behold, we got people from all of the surveys say that like 70% of people want to leave their organization today, right? Doesn't surprise me one bit. It happens in every downturn. People's real character shows up, how they feel about humans and how they handle themselves show up. So as you're going through this and you're doing exit interviews, I say have a third party do it, because they're not going to want to hurt your feelings. They're not going to want you to take something wrong. but have someone do an exit interview, including if you don't have a team or a HR advisor, have a board member, talk to that person. What can I learn about the experience? How did it go? What would you recommend we do different for the future? Why are you really leaving? We just want to make sure we understand, is there anything else we can learn and grow from? The other thing that we push a lot, Eric, is stay interviews, right? So as a part of your overall performance feedback experience for your team, which should be at a regular cadence where you're engaging, there should be transparency about how things are going. Doing a stay interview about what are people enjoying in the work that they're doing, what are they not enjoying, what's going on in the organization they're concerned about, and what in the organization would they, do they feel is the best they've ever experienced. So stay interviews, I believe, is even more valuable than an exit interview because they're already going out the door. Wouldn't you want to have the feedback now in order to do something to keep them? But don't be a-hole as people exit your company, because it will be remembered and it will haunt you. I know organizations who have treated people disposable, and they have ran into, as they've scaled, significant employment branding problems that they had to repivot. They had to fire executives. They had to bring on other humans to take over key leadership roles, all because they ran out of talent pool and nobody wanted to go there because everybody had heard how they treated people. And I'm actually not exaggerating at all. So just be thinking about that. How would I want to be treated if it were my friend, if it were my relative, if it were me, if it were a child, if it were how would I want them to be treated? And treat them as if they're going to be a future friend or connection, because in this region, they're probably going to show up again, right? It's just how it works. Okay, so process design, as you're mapping your ideal recruitment process, there's a couple tools here that you can certainly use to design process flows. You can also use Post-its or flip charts. There's another tool called Miro, M-I-R-O. You can map out. All of these tools are designed for you to do brainstorming, right? So map it out and then build a structure and then say, hey, we're going to follow this. And if we need to make changes after the first 5 times through, we just make changes, right? So be nimble, but have a structure, if that makes sense. Like, have a little bit of flexibility. Know that it's not in concrete, because us entrepreneurs do not like things in concrete typically. But just be thoughtful, capture the process, map it out with your team. And I'll just show you some of the things that we've recently just worked on, because the first few hires I was leading, now I've got people who actually know how to put process in place, which is super valuable. So this is one that we've been building to process map. And again, it may take you a couple times to feel like you've got it. I think your team will appreciate it. And especially with different personality types, this helps people see, like, where are we in the queue. It also allows you to communicate to candidates as to where you are. Let's see here. So we also recommend getting specific on the who and details on ours. So there's some details here. There's also process maps in this picture that you can lay out, what are the timing, who's going to own what part of what process, who else do I need to involve, what's the step itself, when do we need to get through this, just being able to check the boxes to make sure that everybody's experiencing the same process and design. So once you've established process flow, the next step is to go deeper and start filling these things out, right? Clarify who, what, how long, when by, and use this chart as a template. So implementation and maintenance, once you've mapped it out, the next step, implement it, listen, learn, maintain a process through. As you practice it, it's going to make it easier to follow the map. Like, this is just what we do. This is how we handle the steps. And we're going to learn from it together. If we've got feedback, let's at least take the next 5 through the same process so there's consistency. And then let's start making adjustments each time. You can say, how did the process go? Also, if you hire someone, how did the experience feel? Some companies go so far to ask the candidates about how did it feel for you. So there's a free resource called the Talent Board, and they put out an award called the Candies, CANDE. Some of the best organizations and huge companies, you don't have to be best to be huge. So some of the best organizations and huge companies use their system to gain feedback on candidate experience. So it can be a free implementation. If you do so well, you can even get awarded for having a great candidate experience. And doesn't all top talent want to experience the best candidate experience? So Talent Board, Kevin Grossman, the CEO and founder, one of my really good clients. He's out on the West Coast. One of my really good friends, I'm sorry. And he would be, just mention to him, hey, I'm a friend of the Talent Magnet Institute, friend of Centrifuge, introduced me to Talent Magnet Institute. No Mike, no Jules. And he'd be happy to have his team guide you through how to up level your candidate experience. All right, so keys to doing all of this well: train people to the process. Sorry, there is a lot of text here, and I am going to read through some of it. But begin following the process with new candidates. Capture any process tweaks along the way. Make asterisks, highlight in yellow, things we may need to adjust, especially with your first, again, 2 to 5. You're going to find things that you missed, things that you need to add in. And periodically keep asking for feedback. Of those you hire, I would also go so far of those that you don't hire. You can learn a lot by those you don't hire, and those you don't hire will say, you know what? I have never been asked how the experience was by any organization. This company must be fantastic. And that's what you want them to have in their experience tool belt. All right. So do the work so you can repeat. Email yourself. Add a calendar is a big deal. I know we do that a lot in terms of what's our timeline we're supposed to be on. We invite ourselves to appointments so we know where we're supposed to have the candidates at what time. Whatever you do, remember, make a note so it's easy. Make it easier for you. Jot down the one thing as you come out of this that you feel like, hey, what is the one thing we haven't been doing well? What do I think has been missing that I've just never taken the time to verbalize because we're moving so fast? And what is the one thing that I would like to do in the next week to make our experience a little bit better for ourselves and those that are going through the process? I see a couple more questions, Eric. Thank you. So when does compensation come into the process? What if you're off in what you expected for the role versus what the market demands? I can almost guarantee you that's going to be the case. And what's the best way to stay on top of that? So, so it's a great question. I mean, part of my what used to be my full-time day job was constantly managing expectations of what we wanted, sun, moon, and the stars. The whole champagne Dom Perignon on a Busch Light budget is a real thing in the recruitment space. So you need to do your research, right? So don't just assume. Don't assume that it is ever in your best interest that the client is in control of compensation, because the market demands what the market demands. And we all know that the higher demand of the talent that you're trying to seek, the higher the comp is going to be. And you've got some flexibility though, depending on how you structure your compensation. There may very well be things that you offer that no one else offers, right? So you join my leadership team, I've set aside 12% equity for my management team and those who deliver great value. So I can commit to someone like a Jules that you come here and knock the ball, cover off the ball. I want you to be a part owner in this organization because you're going to help me build it from the beginning. That's an approach we took. And, you know, some, you can debate it all day long, whether you want it, but I know that it's something that's exciting for the right people who get motivated by that. And there's also nothing more exciting than having that experience of actually welcoming, you know, handing them equity because of the results they've delivered. So, you know, there's things, flexibility. Who cares where people get work done, to be frank, right? Corporate environments aren't going to take that attitude. We can take that attitude. Um, you know, we can set up things that's more flexible, that people appreciate and value, that other companies are just so stuck in the 1980s or 70s in their employment practices that, you know, we're nimble, we can move way ahead of them in those things. And, you know, here are the things we can offer. Here's what we can offer. You know, there may be even in lower compensation, but I don't care where you're at doing the work. I'm not going to put vacation tolerances on you. Like, just get stuff done, right? Let's make an impact. And you can also do things like encourage your people to take a couple extra days off as a part of their vacation. Because how many, you know, I got back in town at 1 a.m. on Monday morning, and I knew if I told my team, hey, I'm not coming in till noon, they're like, great, get some rest, and, you know, I'm glad you're back, right? Versus, oh my gosh, I got to be there at 8 a.m. because somebody's going to slap my hand if I'm not. Like, we don't need to play that way like most other organizations. So you've got ways to up level on the market demands, but you need to be benchmarking at all times. I think it's one of the roles of a CEO of a company is we should be benchmarking where talent's going and what the cost associated to getting the talent that we're going to need is going to be. So you're right, we can't afford to outspend competition, but we can do things that our competition can't. I've recently funded companies to blow through cash, partly from overpaying. How do you recommend staying in guardrails? So managing your burn rate is critical, right? And you do have to be careful. I also think you'll be surprised the people who are willing to be flexible with you because they know that they may be able to go someplace and make more money. But they also know that they bought into the vision. They want to achieve what you're trying to accomplish. They want to change the world and how you're trying to change the world. And they know that you're going to do the right thing, right? So as comp, as profit, as revenue, you know, maybe revenue will happen before profit in our world, but you're going to take care of your people, right? So focus on taking care of your people. Keep thinking about the creative benefits that can be offered and talk about it, right? So, you know, talk to your team about it and try to manage this burn rate thing, bring it up. You know, our team pretty much knows right now where the watermark of burn rate is for our team. So our team's incentivized, we've got to get over that, right? Over the next 3 months, we need to bring that down and actually eliminate it would be incredible. And then we've got more flexibility. But until then, we don't have the flexibility because we don't have the cash flow. And we do have outside investors who do care about the burn rate. And we've got to be very careful with the cash that we're being provided. Agree. Non-cash comp is extremely powerful. Let's see here. So one of the things we want to provide is a 5-point checklist for attracting top talent. So Jules is going to put this into, there you go. There's the link. The Talent Magnet Institute has a resources page that I think is a little unique in that it's tens of thousands of free consulting dollars in these resources that we just give away. There's also ways to just join our community. So a little secret that don't go write an article about this yet, but we're going to be rolling out a freemium model that's not released currently. So getting in our database is going to bring you and your team tremendous advantage. So we literally have spent, I don't know, feels like 100 hours in the last month on this topic with advisors and board and bringing people in. But we're going to be releasing some pretty big deals, pretty big opportunities based on what we've learned since last August when we went live with our software as a service. So if you download this, it will put you into our system. And then you can also like just, hang out there as we continue to build our community. And there'll be some amazing resources to come. So we've got about 100 we launched our software as a service last August, actually July 29th, I think it was. And we've got about 120 or so organizations in the platform now. And we're excited to shift that very, very quickly here as we roll out this next model. So leadership has its privileges and it also has its downsides, right? Many leaders are prepared for professional challenges that await, but few are ready to take on the personal toll that leadership often takes on you and myself. At the Talent Magnet Institute, we have a holistic approach to leadership development. To me, it's most important having lost friends to, or having friends that suffer from, mental illness, depression, addiction. God forbid, I had a friend just a couple years ago take his life as a CEO, a prominent leader in our community. And, the old adage, it's lonely at the top, could not be more reinforced than for entrepreneurs taking on this journey that we're on. So we hope to make that lonely at the top comment go away, that there is a place that you can rest. There is a place that you can commune. There is a place that you can seek wisdom and guidance and not be judged by board, by investors, by friends, by team, by employees. And that's why we do what we do here at the Institute. So I always say leadership is a journey and you don't have to walk it alone. I appreciate all of you. Feel free to send us questions, connect with us on LinkedIn. If you need anything else from us, ask Eric. And Eric and Centrifuge team, we really appreciate you having us today.
No, that's been great. And I think that, as we grow the Cincinnati ecosystem, having scaling companies is going to be critical for us as we want to be that talent magnet in the Midwest. So having a process, being able to stick to that and learning from experts like you and Jules will be critical. So thank you both for your time. Thank everybody for joining.